During the war, my parents and my brothers and sisters were refugees when my mother learned that she was pregnant. Now, why my parents would choose to conceive me in a time of war, I do not know, as refugees. But maybe, I don't know, sex was the only reasonable recreational activity for refugees in those days, and there was no contraception. So I was born, my mother suffered war-related malnutrition. In the womb, I suffered some war-related malnutrition. And in fact, when I was born in a dilapidated refugee hospital. That was how my life began. And in the first 2-3 years of my life, I suffered malnutrition. I never tasted meat or any produce till I was about 4 years old. Hunger and deprivation were weapons of war. And they were dropping bombs randomly in refugee areas, just like we had in Aleppo, Syria recently. So the day I was born, September 1, 1968, my father had gone out to his outpost because he was now working for the Biafran government that was nearby. And there was a bombing raid. In fact, as I was being born, my people, the refugees, were being bombed. So unfortunately, my father was a victim of one of the bombs. And after the bombing, while I was being born, the Catholic charities, Caritas, were picking up the dead bodies, placing them in a truck for the mass grave. When they grabbed my father's body lying by the wayside, he groaned. And they said, oh, he's alive. And they brought him to the same dilapidated refugee hospital where I was born because there was only one doctor available, and he was the gynecologist and obstetrician. He was the general surgeon. He did everything. So they believed my father was going to die. But for some reason, he turned around. He made it. A couple of weeks later, he was able to sit up, and I was handed over to him. And as he held me on his bosom, he said my name would be Bennett, from the French verb Benoit, to be blessed, that I was a blessing unto his life. And he gave me a middle name, a Middle African name, Ifa Kandi. It means life is the greatest gift of all. Because he believed I was the angel that brought back his gift of life to him. At a very early phase of my life, I experienced systemic and systematic discrimination because my tribe were labeled losers. After the war, each and every family from Biafra was given only 20 pounds. Even if you had 100,000 pounds in a bank account before the war. The fundamental reason why I came to America was, as a child, I discovered America to be the heaven on earth, to be a place that was closest to what God wants us to be as his sons and daughters, a place where I could be myself. I had this very naive, idealistic understanding of America. When I came to America, I arrived on October 24, 1994. I was 26 years old. Having grown up in Nigeria, I was not exposed to American history. I was not. So I wasn't aware of America's narrative of slavery and racism. I was not, no matter how amazing that may seem. So my first couple of weeks in America, to tell you how naive I was, I rented a room in a house in a predominantly white neighborhood because I did not see color. I saw myself as a human being who could live wherever I want to live. But it was a predominantly white neighborhood. I began to notice that sometimes when I'm walking down the street, some people would see me. Immediately they see me, they walk across the street as if they were afraid of encountering me. And I discovered I would go to grocery stores. The cashier would be very friendly to people ahead of me. When it got to my turn, she would be very, very arrogant. people talk down on me. Even in school, I realized that people were less likely to support me, to help me attain my goals and achieve my objectives. That the system, whenever I encountered it, systematically and systemically made me believe that I was inadequate. Even in school, with professors, but as a child, I had that experience of being put down, being discriminated against. And what helped me to encounter and deal with discrimination in my country was education. My father taught us that education was power, that with education you could do whatever you want to do. So that is why today I have 8 degrees and certifications. I may have overcompensated, but it's all well and good. Because again, you notice that those darkest times of your life, the most difficult challenges you have in your life may be your best platform and opportunity to discover who you are and reaffirm who you are. So when I did the Mike Webster autopsy, I was celebrating the humanity of my faith and the humanity of my science. I had no reason, just going by science, to do Mike Webster's autopsy. We knew why he died. He had a massive heart attack. When I opened up his skull, his brain looked normal. So just going by science, I had no reason examining his brain. But going by my faith, this was a fellow human being who had problems, who had let so many people down, and nobody knew what was wrong with him. So I saw myself in Mike Webster. So I said to Mike, I would use all my knowledge and education to help you, just like I used my education and knowledge to help myself. Let us get down to the bottom of this, to the truth. Let me vindicate you. So that was why I did his autopsy, to celebrate our shared common humanity.
But Mike Webster goes mad.
And now they want to pretend that his disease does not exist, and they want to bury me. It's offensive. I am offended.
So David Walter met me, and this guy believed in my story even more than I believed in myself. And he took this story, and here we are today. In fact, the day I was called by Peter Landesman to tell me that Will Smith was going to play me. I just told him, Peter, you know what, I've had a bad day, just stop fooling around. I hung up on him. He called me back. I'm like, Peter, leave me alone. Come on, just stop joking. He said, Bennett, I'm not joking. I said, you're not joking, you're kidding, right?